We live?
Yas.
Are we live?
Yas.
I don't see it yet. Oh, there we go. All right.
Listening?
Hello, everybody. Cool. Welcome to the Photographers Roundtable. Today, I'm your lovely host. I sound like an old man when I laugh because I'm a little bit sick. So bear with me. And we have the lovely Kelly Robitaille here with us. Me, Olga Tenyanin. We have Kate Woodman.
Okay.
Old man when I laugh.
Sorry.
Oh,
what? I was trying to get on the Facebook. Never mind. Got it.
And we have Ella Grace Bell and Nicole York here doing it live, critiquing your photos. I am turning into a showsman.
Yeah, you should do this professionally.
That was fantastic. I'm like so jealous.
All right, we're doing it live here. Woo!
Do we? So we are live in the group. Can we go live outside the group or no?
Can't share from the group.
So if we have a link, can I post it outside since it's still to Facebook, or is it the same place? I just want to make sure that
they have to be a member of the group to see it.
Oh, so that's an incentive to follow our group.
Join our group, yo.
All right, to all the people in our group that already did. Tell your friends.
Right. Tell your friends, bring them in.
We could technically open the group for an hour.
Would that do anything though?
Well, I have some people who aren't part of the group yet that are hitting me up and waiting for everything to start. So I just want to make sure that we've got everybody included.
Tell them to hurry.
Oh, tell them to join the group.
Yeah, tell them to join the group. That's the way you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys go ahead and start. I'm just gonna let these people know what's up.
All right. So I have to screen share, right? I've never done this before. It's my first time. Please be gentle. Okay. Okay. Boo, boo, boo. Share screen.
I'm rocking my sweet 90s hair clips today.
Oh, yes. That has been a huge part of my life lately.
Yeah.
I painted my eyebrows purple today. Can you see?
Oh,
sort of.
Yeah.
Are we seeing my screen? Yes? Yes? No?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Guys, just before we start really quick, do you want to change the privacy setting to public for the group, or are we leaving it?
Just
I
tell
have
them
no
to
problem with changing it to public.
What's that?
Tell them
I
to
don't have any.
ask.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
All right. Should I go first? Or?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Okay, do it. All right. So I really love how bright and colorful this picture is. I love that jacket. I want it. I need it. I need it in my life. A few things off the bat I would say is just that because the jacket and her head cap her knitted is just so busy, all of the stuff in the background is just all this like extra that I feel like maybe if she moved over to maybe just the blue or the pink and without the graffiti, it would have been maybe a more solid image. But I do like, it's tricky because I do like the pink and I do like the blue and I get what they were going for. But I would still, because of the busyness, I would maybe like to see a more solid background without the little frame here of the door. Maybe like edit that out. Oh my voice sounds so bad.
It does not. You're fine. Stop it.
Perfect.
It's perfect. Let's see. And I would have actually loved to see maybe a more cropped in image of this, like up close, or maybe more full, because I feel like at the crop right now is just like leaving. It's just for my eye. It's just too right-sided, and I wish it was more center and maybe just a little cropped in. And another thing that I've noticed that her face is just, there's just too many levels of lightness and darkness. Like I wish this was balanced just a little bit more, so maybe we could see her neck a little bit better. Maybe
guys,
the live video is ended.
Yeah, it's not working. Just give me a second. I don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything, I swear.
Was it sharing outside the group? Was that what happened?
Maybe.
I still
do that in the middle of recording.
Yeah, it's still recording. It's just not live anymore. Let's just do this again.
All
Oh,
right.
okay.
Okay.
We're on a roll, Olga.
I know, for reals.
Olga.
Killing it, Rolga.
So are we
Yeah.
not going to share?
No, I don't know if you. I don't know.
I don't know why you shouldn't be able to share. People share lives all the time, right?
I just said
Is
that
it because
It's probably because you just changed the privacy settings of the group, so it,
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was.
Do you want to try? Should we try sharing it one more time and see if it boots us, or just leave it?
Okay, well, it's on now. It should be
It's on. No.
should be good to
Yeah,
go
we're back.
now. Hold on.
Sorry, guys.
we tried to make it public so everyone can see, and Facebook did not approve.
That's what I was saying. Just get them to get them to request the group, and we can just add them immediately. Because then it doesn't, fuck with other stuff.
We live for sure. We're good.
Are we actually on?
We're just ironing out all the wrinkles. We're running to every single problem that we can have.
Growing pains. It's just growing pains. That's all.
Pratik shared us too when we went
Oh,
live for
no.
5 minutes. So
Figures.
balls,
On walls.
ballsy
I can't
balls.
figure out how to get a stupid video.
Do we need an adult? I feel like we do.
We're on now though. We're
We
live.
are?
Yeah, we're live now.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do this then.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
working now.
Oh. So what I was saying before we so rudely got interrupted, that I would have loved to seen a little bit more light in maybe her neck region, just the fact that you just can't see anything at all. I don't know. You just get in there and it's just really, really dark. So I would really love to see her neck. I think that would really pull it together really nicely.
Yeah.
Overall, love the image. I love the jacket. I need it so bad.
I kind of feel the same way. I find the windowsill on the left a little bit distracting, and I wish that the top corner where there's like cables, I wish that was cleaned up. And I agree that I wish there was more definition in her face, that the lower half of her face was maybe a bit lighter, or that there was some separation between her neck and her face. And the highlight right here, I find a little distracting.
Yeah.
But I like the colors, and it's fun and it's interesting. So other than that, I really don't have a lot to say. I just think there's like little things that could be cleaned up that would really.
Oh, definitely. It's all nitpicking.
So, and I agree with the crop too. I don't know what I want.
Right.
Maybe a little bit tighter of a crop, but I agree. I would play with something with the crop. I just don't know what. I'd have to like actually take it in and fiddle around with it. But my viewpoints are the same as yours, pretty much, Olga. And then just some general cleanup too.
I have some feelings about this crop.
Do tell.
I think it feels like a street style fashion portrait.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of has this sort of candid aesthetic to it, even though it's like super high fashion. It like looks like, this girl happened to be walking down the street in this kind of urban area, and she just like struck a pose and you snapped a photo. And so
Right.
in that context, I think having the background in there is valuable. I would actually like to see a little bit more of the background to really kind of drive home that sort of like street fashion concept, if that is in fact what the photographer was going for here. I don't mind the blue and the pink together, but I like it was a little bit more centered, or even just like there's like a mullion or something that separates the two on the pink side. Even if that was like moved over just a little bit more for that to be centered, or if she was centered on that, I think that would make it a little bit more strong compositionally. I actually like the window detail there, but I do want to see a little bit more of it. I don't love the graffiti, but it kind of, to be authentic, it kind of is what it is. I personally, I would Photoshop it out, but if it's more of this kind of street fashion vibe, then maybe if we saw more of it, it would be.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree about the light on the face. It feels like she's like, and I don't think she is, but just the way that it's photographed feels like she's like heavily contoured up here. It has like a lot of like under eye makeup, and then it's just like drops down here. So just some dodging and burning there, I think, would help significantly. Also with the crop, I don't love how in the bottom right frame, if you scroll down, Olga, the jacket kind of gets cut off in the corner. So I would have liked to have seen that kind of resolve and finish out and see the actual edge of that. But otherwise, the color is amazing. I like the expression and the attitude. Like, you can definitely feel like she has like this confidence and this attitude to her. So that's really awesome. The colors are great. But yeah, really, it's just, for me, it's just about the composition and what's the story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell this street fashion story, or is this just about her, in which case get rid of the distractions in the background or tighten the crop or whichever. But right now it's kind of somewhere in between.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ella, do you want to go?
I don't really have much more to add. I'm just kind of like staring at the image, just kind of like looking at all the colors, and it is like super fun. But the black hole of a neck, I wish there was some light in there, and I don't actually know if it's in focus. I'm like,
I think it might be the resolution of the picture. Actually.
it might be the resolution, like, because it looks like it should be sharp.
Yeah.
Because like I'm looking at the file that you sent me, Olga, and I'm just like, I can't tell if it's in focus or not. Like, it looks like it should be sharp, but it isn't. So again, it might just be the resolution. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what they sent me. So
yeah. So, but yeah, I don't really have any much more to add. I just wish that there was some light in her neck area, and that's kind of like the main thing. Like, I guess maybe just the added contrast. Maybe took out some of the details in her neck. Like, I like the contrast, like it really makes the colors pop and everything, but
it's also very curious that, like, when you look at her eyes, you can see that there's some sort of light to the side, but when you look at the image, I don't feel like that's really reflected in the image itself. It looks like the light source is coming more from above.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously daylight and an extra, like, try like a kicker in there.
Yeah.
It might have been to kind of kill some of the overhead shadows in the outfit.
Yeah, for sure. I think so.
Yeah. I honestly, my only real concern with this image is what you guys have mentioned, just with the fall off down into the neck. I think I would even like to see this. I would like to see the composition more wonky. I almost want her to be angled a little bit, and because there's this real sense of movement happening in the jacket, almost like she's twisting and the jacket just hasn't quite caught up. I would love to see even that little more dynamic, because I feel like you have this piece of clothing that is so interesting to look at, and seeing like the movement in that. Like, there's a feeling of movement in the hat just from kind of the way that some of the strands of yarn have moved. But I would love to see that in the jacket as well. And I don't mind the graffiti. I actually like that a lot of the lines are leading right to her. I like the pink and blue. The big thing that I keep going back to is I wish that the texture in her lips was lessened just a little bit. The where the lipstick is kind of cracking and stuff is really distracting to me. So I do kind of wish that those lines were less a little bit. And there's some general retouching, I think, that would make the skin cleaned up a little bit. I don't know that an average viewer is going to find that distracting. It might just be for me having retouched a lot of beauty images, but I like the texture. I like the sense of place. I like the color. I like the attitude. I just think that this could be even more ballsy than it is, for lack of a better word. Like, I would love to even see a little bit more movement. And if the composition is going to be off, I'd like it to be all the way off so that it has that kind of sense of dynamism. I don't know that this is suitable almost for a centered composition that has a kind of like steady, stagnant feel to it. It almost seems like it really wants to be in motion. But I think it's a super cool idea. I love the makeup for it. I like the mood. I like the composition of the the lines that are leading toward her. Almost everything seems to be pointed in her direction, so I like that. But I just say with something like this is one of the few kinds of images where you can even take it farther than you've already taken it. You can do a lot of movement. You can do really hard light. You can do, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot you can do with an image like this that's so bold that you might not be able to pull off with ones that are a little bit more kind of subdued. So, but yeah, even just the cleanup on the face and then bringing light into the neck area would make this, you know, probably half again as good as it is now, but super fun. I like this a lot.
I agree. It's cool.
I think that's a good point, Nicole, is like your framing and your composition a lot of times can be dictated by the subject matter. And in this case, because it is such a dynamic and bold piece, like don't be afraid to follow those rules or break the rules, right? Like this, I don't know what focal length this is, but it feels it doesn't feel wide angle, and like for something like this you could probably get away with being more wide angle and make it more dynamic and make it a little bit distorted. We're shooting from different angles and stuff too. It looks like we're coming up a little bit on her, but like get on the ground and like play around, that kind of stuff.
Have her move in front of you, swing the jacket, seeing even that foreshortening with all those details in the front and the swinging pieces of like yarn, and like, there's so much fun stuff you could do with an image like this.
Her jacket says play, so I feel like you should definitely be playing, you know, like crossing boundaries, moving a lot of like using all the different textures, moving it around.
All that to say, still super cool.
Yeah, it's still super cool. I'm just like, I need this coat really bad.
Yeah.
Who's the designer?
Oh, I actually have that information.
Olga needs this coat. Oh, nice. So I expect to see you in this coat soon.
Next time. All right.
So are we saying who the photos by and all that stuff?
Yep.
Okay, so the photographer is Carlos Vaz. The model is Rocky. Makeup is Isabel Bravo and Livia Musi. The model is wearing P-Junk by Kate Hanna.
Thank you for sharing all of the goods with us. I love being able to kind of shout out to all the peeps.
Exactly, love it. All right.
Yeah, very cool. That was neat. Thumbs up. That was super cool. Like so much about that image.
We're talking about it, so that's what's important, right?
Right, exactly. And like when I saw it, I was like, we need this one. This is the one I need. All right.
She's looking at me.
She is. She knows Kate. She knows all about you. No.
She knows all my secrets.
All right, who wants to go?
I can start, I guess. I really like the tones of this image. I feel like there's a story there that I want to know. I want to know what she's looking at. I want to know where she is. I want to know what she was doing before she so gracefully fell on this beautiful chair. I think the retouching is really nice. I think I'd like to see more of what's going on in the scene, or crop her in a little tighter, either or, because I think like just seeing a little bit of her arm there, I'm not really sure about. I think in general things are lining up nicely. I just like, even like on her outfit where there's the little, can you see the little like triangle kind of where her like shoulder blade would be on the back? Like I don't really understand what's happening on her back. Down.
Oh, like how it's bagging out, like at her.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay.
Like I wish that was pulled in a little bit and that the lines were a bit smoother. But I mean, in terms of retouching and tonality and like the general feel of the image, I think it's beautiful. I wish her eye was a little lighter. The front, like her foreeye, her right eye, was a bit brighter. But I mean, that's just being nitpicky. Retouching is beautiful. Again, I'd like to see more of what's happening or less of what's happening. So either crop it in a bit tighter or let me see what's actually going on in the actual story. I don't really have much else to say. I mean, I think it's really pretty.
I totally agree, Kelly. I think, I mean, the light on her face is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I would have exactly wish I saw a little bit more of her eye and maybe that little bit lighter. And also, I think the, what is that? The just like level balance, like, is just a little bit off. I wish the lines were like straighter. You know what I mean? Because you see this little, you know, either crop it in so you don't see that, but I think it's a little bit distracting. I love the color of the chair versus the maroon jacket. I love the texture. I don't like this little light spot here because it takes you there and you're just like, it's just so distracting, especially when it's so dark and her arm is so light. And I completely agree. I wish it was just pulled out a little bit more because I love those kind of resting on furniture kind of adjunct, like you don't really know what's going on, but there's still a story there because she, I don't know, she looks super bored or she's like waiting, but in like a high fashion way.
Yeah, what is she doing?
Yeah, what is she doing?
Bored, but make it fashion.
Yeah, but bored, but make it fashion.
I'm gonna look like that when I laze around after this. I'm just
I wish I looked like that when I laze around.
So I just wish that like this was maybe more straight because I think that would create that element of just like, you know, realism. I get that maybe it's a little to the side because she's a little bit to the side, but I think it would have been a good juxtaposition of having her slant and the lines straight. But I think that's just like an OCD thing for myself that I just have to have lines like very straight, unless or like go really, really all the way. Like either go all the way or like make it straight.
I think that's also the build of that particular chair. It looks like the legs are canted.
Oh, that's
so
true.
I'm not sure whether or not that would even be possible to get it like a perfect 90.
On.
Without like distorting the chair. What have you done?
What happened?
She's like, there, I fixed it.
Pure blue, so much better.
So much better. But I think just maybe just because in the image it does look like it's a straight leg, other than that one behind it. I don't in like the fireplace behind it, just those two elements together, it creates a very tilted. And either I want it super tilted or not. You know what I mean? Like either go all the way or not. And that's just like, I'm so like black and white. I'm like, do it or don't.
you could be our Yoda.
Okay. I sound like him.
Just out of curiosity, do you guys have a lot of banding on your image, on your screens?
No.
Oh, when you zoom in,
like on her hairline, on her ear that's exposed, like that hairline there.
That might be
also,
Zoom because
I think it's just the I think it's just on Zoom though, because I don't really see it on the image that was sent through.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Maybe
it could just.
Let me open it in.
Mine looks pretty clean.
Are you doing in preview? Because sometimes preview does really low resolution. So
yeah, I had it open in preview because I wanted to just open it quickly. It's still a little bit there in Photoshop, but definitely not as bad.
So that's just a reminder to everybody, please, if you can, send us the high resolution images.
Yeah.
Other than that would be great.
Yeah, because the 100% image of this is quite small, so it's probably just a resolution issue with the banding. Yeah, I don't know. The one thing, like I really like this image. I think it's really pretty and really soft, and like the retouching is excellent, and I love the color juxtaposition of like the burgundy versus the green chair. I like how the highlights are falling in her hair and everything, but really just like the one thing that's really bugging me is the color shift in the floor. I know that's partly due to like a shadow, but it's just so green that it's like, again, it might be a resolution issue because this is a small image. But it's just like, it's where I'm seeing most of the banding in this particular image. And I think probably because of the quality, because of the image size. But it's also got like a color shift too that I'm just not really vibing with. It's not like terrible. It's not like the end of the world kind of thing. I just personally don't really like it. I don't know. I'm assuming it's from a shadow. So I don't know if they could have fixed that while shooting. It's definitely something maybe you could fix in post, like maybe like desat it a little bit or something, but it is very green and it's really drawing my eyeball down there, even though I want to look at her. But like overall, I think it's a really nice image and there's lots that I like about it. It's just really that one thing for me. There's also some like specks
like under the chair, Ella?
Like the whole bottom like fifth of the image is green.
Yeah,
versus
because
the
I knew
rest.
the image that was sent through, I have banding there as well. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that's intentional, like if it's actually from
resolution.
the high res image or if
Yeah,
it.
maybe just the like the white
I'd be
size.
interested. Yeah. to
Yeah.
see.
So that's like really honestly like my main only thing is I just don't really love the color that's down there, and I realize it is probably a shadow, and there's something to do probably with the quality of resolution of the image that was sent to us. But
Having
that's
dog
something that
problems.
I would look into
She's
fixing.
Caught in the wires under my. Hang on, baby. Sissy, stay. It's okay.
We're gonna lose Nicole. It's gonna be blackout.
Hang on. It's okay. Real life, people. Olga, you keep kind of like moving the image around the screen, which is actually great because I've seen a number of different compositions that I actually like better than what we have here. Like, wait, zoom out one click.
Just don't make it blue, okay?
Oh,
So
well,
yeah,
you
don't
guys
make it
are, it's a tall order.
then now we have kind of the cropped part of the fireplace off, and instantly that feels better
Yeah.
to me because then your eye's not going to that part there. If you zoom in one more time and kind of frame it on her, like that as like as a horizontal,
It's gorgeous.
landscape
Yeah.
composition is beautiful because what
You take out all those elements.
right. So what stands out to be about this image is this is clearly a portrait. It's about her. It's about, you know, kind of her position and relationship with this foreground chair, but the rest of the scene is immaterial, right? It's not really relevant to the story or to the focus of the image, which is all about her and her beautiful face and how she's kind of giving us this attitude. So I think you don't need the background in this, which I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm the person that's like more background for everything.
Right. But I think this tells a great story with the red and the green, and
I
when
agree.
you really pull in, you see that beautiful light on her face. You see her, the look she's giving. It's just like, it's just like whoosh.
It's amazing the difference a crop makes.
Definitely.
One single image,
and it
though.
really this kind of tighter crop showcases the like absolutely beautiful texture in the skin, in the chair, in her jacket. It's all about texture here and like the contrast of texture. A couple like other nitpicky things, like minor things, is I kind of agree with the eyes, and I think it's less about the light in the eyes and more just about the location of her irises. Like I would just kind of have her cheat her eyes up, like kind of above camera just a bit, just to have the irises rotate a little bit more so we see a little bit less of the whites of the eye, especially because the way that the light comes in, the catch light, is kind of like making the white of her eye feel larger than it actually is.
Yeah, totally.
So that would just be like kind of cheating the eye a smidge. And then the only other thing that I have is the neck feels brighter than the face.
Yeah, especially when you crop it and you can really see that.
Yeah, so I would just burn the neck a bit to make the focus here instead of the neck. But otherwise, yeah, it's beautiful. And I love her expression, and kudos to her for being able to like hold that pose and make it look not like she's dying. Because if I tried to do that, it would look horrible. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't really have anything at least much to add that you guys haven't already said. The light is gorgeous. She's beautiful. The styling is impeccable. The makeup is gorgeous and soft. The color contrast is gorgeous. I do agree that the crop really doesn't make any sense. She's halfway in between an environmental portrait and a beauty portrait. And so I think you just have to make that decision on where you're going to be. And I don't think adding environment in this case with this crop did the image any, I mean, it's not benefiting the image. So I would definitely come in tighter and let it just be about her. Otherwise, I think there are a lot of other ways she could have interacted with that chair if you wanted to show more of the image to keep that, you know, really beautiful kind of lazy, it's not lazy, but, you know, kind of lazing around in a beautiful environment. I think there are a lot of ways you could have kind of posed or composed that so that the environment made sense. But for where this crop is at, I think the best thing you can probably do is just come in and crop out some of those other environmental factors. But and I think if you're going to cut off limbs, it's totally fine as long as the limbs are not pulling the eye out. And I think that's kind of the catch. Like there's times where a composition and there's action happening where limbs are missing and it makes sense given the image. But for this one, it just doesn't make much sense. So with everything else being so beautiful, I think a crop is really all this needs. And then just to make sure that you're defining why it is that way. If you're going to have it large, then make it purposeful and make it help tell the story. And if you're going to have it tight, then it's completely focused on the person, which, you know, I think in this case is really what this image wants to be. So yeah, that would be my only feedback. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I love the choices and everything. So
I love the
for that.
I think she's gorgeous.
She's beautiful for sure.
All right. So this image is from Pratik Nayak. I don't know how to say his name. I'm so sorry.
Nice job, Pratik.
Yeah.
It's okay,
pretty.
Pratik. It's okay.
Name's Patrick.
And he did send in a couple of different images, and they were all beautiful. And I think this one probably had the most to actually say about. Like, so that's why I
the point, right? I mean, what's the sense on critiquing a great image, a perfect image? Then we have nothing to do but sit and
like
cheer
it's beautiful.
So it's great.
With our Blanco talons.
Well, the best part is that you can have an image be beautiful and still have ways that you can improve it. And so I think that's like the case with an image like this. It's beautiful still. And like, even without the improvements, it's still beautiful, but it just could go
to really zip it in.
Yeah.
Bam.
Agree.
This image needs to be
nicely done.
Two thumbs.
Well done.
2 thumbs, Pratik.
It's okay.
You're all right.
It's all right. It's all right, I guess.
Who even are you?
Choice numero tres. Why does the ruler always come back?
You're always being measured.
I guess so. You've been weighed and measured, and you've been found wanting.
I know that movie.
Yeah.
Dun,
It's
dun,
the
dun.
best. Dun, dun, dun. You can hit me all day because
so much anachronism in that movie. It just makes me happy. So good. Your entrails will become your extrails.
No, stop. Oh no, there's that old man. Stop.
Don't die, Olga.
So good.
Have another drink. It makes everything better.
I'm on 3 of the Blanco talons.
It's Cinco de Mayo.
I'm just gonna say this is really sweet and pretty. I just don't want the little girl's skin to be so pink. Like
I think it would be better. I don't think the pink skin tone would bother me if the dress was more pink and less beige.
Hold on. Can we say what the photographer mentioned in their email?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. I had it written on a thing, but I can't open it because then you'll see who all the peeps are. Okay. Gmail, why are you so weird? Okay. So the photographer says that they were trying to keep these sort of monochromatic now that they're looking flat to them and the close-up highlights look blown out. I'm sure there's more to discuss, is what the photographer has said.
I think you can go monochromatic and still maintain skin tones that don't feel like they've shifted to the color, because you can have very sweet pink skin tones without making it look, because right now she has it all. She kind of looks like it all. There's so much pink. I want her skin to just be a little bit more natural. I don't think it has to go far, just a little bit.
I'm going to disagree with Nicole on this.
That's okay.
Ooh, called out. Just kidding.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. The 5 different opinions. I think that really shows that.
Well, I think you can change a number of different things, and I think that Nicole is right in the sense that there's a disconnect between perhaps I think for me, I'm reading it as the dress and the skin tone. That's where the disconnect is, and I feel like one way to resolve that is to bring down the pink tones in the skin tone, but because you have that more saturated background, I would
she might look a little pale, huh?
Yeah, I would suggest actually bringing more saturation and color, that pink color like the background, into the dress, or make the background less saturated and bring a little bit more of that yellow, because it has kind of this vintage feel to it. And so maybe, I'm talking in circles here, but maybe going to the background and changing that rather than the dress is the way to go. But the point being is there's the skin tone, there's the dress color, and then there's the background. And if you're going monochromatic, those need to be a little bit more in line from a hue and saturation perspective. And it, depending on which way you want to go, if you want something that's more vintage, then desaturate and add yellow to the background. If you want something that's a little bit more contemporary and has a little bit more pop, make the dress more saturated. And then I think that would, either one of those would resolve the skin tone issue.
Yeah. Which, just to throw your class out there, which is a good point, and one of the things that Kate talks about in her class is the fact that how you view color is really determined by the other colors that are in the environment. And so sometimes the fact that the skin tone is looking pink to me, like Kate was saying, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to change the skin tone, but you have to change the environment that it's in, right? Because the way you perceive the colors is going to be different based on the environment, what light is hitting them, the different hues, all of that stuff. It's all relational. So get Kate Woodman's class on color.
Right.
And you want to know more about that.
Color queens.
For me, immediately, I felt like there was a bit of a disconnect, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I couldn't put my finger on what it was that I was having a hard time with. But I think as you guys are speaking, I agree that it's the saturation between the background and then the actual subject and what's happening in the forefront. So I do definitely agree, even just to bring like some more maybe yellows into that background to create more of a vintage effect, as opposed to like that bubblegum pink and then she's very vintage looking.
Yeah, the dress feels really vintage.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and like even the toning of her overall, like initially I was like, is it a composite? Because then the colors aren't really matching up, but it's, I mean, it's obviously not a composite. So there was just something that wasn't lining up for me in terms of the color variations in the image. The skin tone doesn't bother me, but I'd like to know what the story is behind this. Is it just a cute little girl holding a doll? And if that's what it is, then it is what it is. But like, what if her skin tones were more likened to the doll's skin tones? Like, you know, just little things like that. I feel like those would make a difference. And this is going to sound so stupid. I'm so sorry. This is so nitpicky, but like her knee.
Oh, yeah.
Me. I just keep getting drawn down to the knee. So I wish that was retouched out and fixed. And then I also, what's that?
Just a little dodge and burn to like even out the.
Yeah, just something just to even out the highlight on the dress. And then in terms of retouching, I noticed some sparkles on her eyes that I think we could just do away with. I don't think that it's necessary. But yeah, like, again, for me, I love a story in an image, and I don't really know what the story is in this image, but it's cute and the light's nice, and like in general it's a nice image. I have nothing bad to say about it. I just wish I knew what the story was, and you know, instead of it just being a little girl holding her doll, why is she holding the doll and what's the story? And you know, let's make everything mesh a little bit better. That's kind of the only opinion I have on it. It's cute.
I agree with you, Kelly. I like too, like a couple of things for me is like, I really love the monochromatic look. I've definitely attempted to do it before, and it's a lot harder than I thought it would be, of just kind of nailing that of every color having their own place, but also being, you know, together in one color is very, very tricky. I would absolutely love to see the doll and her skin match, because right now her skin is very pink and the doll's skin is very yellow. And I feel like that's backwards.
That could be what threw me off so much, is maybe that the doll skin is almost more human. Huh?
It is.
Yeah.
And because it's what makes me feel that way is because their hair color matches. So that's what to me
Mhm.
pulls it in and says these are supposed to be the same. And so the fact that she's so yellow, but then she's so pink and more cool toned, it kind of throws it off, and then it matches with the dress. And so I would have wished a little bit more color balance in that. And then also I see her hair here is obviously being blown with some sort of fan, but her dress is very stagnant. And that tells me two different stories. And I wish there was a little bit more movement in this, because her hair says movement, but then her dress doesn't. So it kind of tells this like opposite story. And I agree with what everyone else says. And I love the pinks, and I love like I can see what she was going for, but it's still kind of, it's just like a few notches from like nailing it.
Yep.
I don't have much to add. I agree with everything, but I just really can't get past the like white filmy overlay that's on the whole thing. It's this like white hazy like
You lose
overlay.
that- yeah, you can.
And I'm
lose-
just
you
really
lose that
not vibing
contrast
with
down
it
the
like at
bottom.
all. It
I
doesn't serve a purpose to me. So
Kind of maybe
know.
to create like a dreamscape, you know, that the blacks aren't black, they're more of like a grayish.
yeah, but I think she could have maybe done it a different way that would do that effect better, because right now it just looks
I don't
off.
think I would hate to see the blacks pumped up a little bit more either, like maybe a little more contrast in
Contrast,
the
so just a little bit of a kick.
I'm also just wondering too if the reason why her skin is so blown out is because of this like white hazy filter that she's put on top of it.
Could be. I mean, could be.
I disagree.
Kate's feeling saucy today.
I am. Well, I think that I've seen this effect done elsewhere, and it definitely bothers me in a lot of situations. This to me is an exception to that rule because of the subject matter and this kind of innocence and like ethereal quality. I think this like that kind of effect lends itself even more to this idea of turning the background a more like subdued vintagey pink color, because then that's really driving home this kind of old kind of faded photo from
Feels like it wants to be almost Edwardian, doesn't it? Like
yeah, and I think it lends itself well to the skin. Like her face is, the light is beautiful,
so pretty.
so painterly. I do think it's a bit hot on the arm, but the light on her face is just beautiful, and I think part of that is that kind of muting of the blacks in that area. So I don't mind it so much for this image. I think there are a lot of other images that I would think it would not be appropriate for, but I think this one it can get away with. But that's just my opinion.
Who even are you?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Some girl drinking a beer.
Cheers.
What are your credentials for your opinion?
I don't know. I have an engineering degree. I don't know shit about photography.
Yeah,
I don't have any degrees.
It's a super pretty image.
is-
It's very
it is pretty.
sweet. It's very charming. The
It's
light
soft.
is beautiful.
I love the expression on her face, just a girl with her dolly.
It's very
Yeah,
sweet.
It is pretty. I guess for me, I love a story, and I just feel like I would like, it's pretty, but I feel like I would scroll by.
You know what I think might be the thing, and Kelly, after I say this, you can tell me whether or not I've got it. But for me, in a portrait, when the subject engages with the viewer, it's an invitation to lock gazes, right? Like it doesn't necessarily need a specific story at that point, because then it's my relation as the subject to you as the viewer. When the subject is not looking at the camera, then for me, that's an invitation to like the story of the image, not to the person in the image, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
There's something about when somebody is looking at the camera where you are engaging with the person instead of with the story. And for me, anytime eyes are not like at the camera, it's a story invitation rather than like a portrait can be just a portrait without an additional story. But as soon as their eyes come off, there's something about it that makes me want to have like additional context.
Well,
Yeah,
it's like breaking that fourth wall.
Story? You don't think this has a story, Kelly?
I think that there's potential for a story, but I also think that do I think that there was an intentional story when this was being shot? I don't think so. I think that it's a cute girl with a doll, and it's well done. But so for me, I feel like when we're scrolling through Facebook, which is where we all post our photos, we are looking for something that strikes our interest, and we're trying to find something that stops us in our tracks. And even though this is beautiful and well done, would this stop me in my tracks? I don't think so. Now, if it was pushed a bit further, maybe, but to me, this is just something that I would probably just scroll by, because it's not stopping. It's not telling me a story right off the bat. And I want to scroll and for it to catch my eye and for me to wonder what the story is behind the imagery. And I just don't feel like that with this one. And I'd like to see what else was done in this shoot and what other images she has.
They did send one other one.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see, because again, I think there's a story to be told. But from my perspective, like from my personal perspective, this would not stop my scrolling. And I think I just think it's just because things aren't lining up, and it's just aesthetically not clicking all the buttons that I need it to click in my mind.
It raises an interesting point about story, because this might not tell a story to you. This might be really moving to someone else.
For sure.
I think that's always the challenge with photography, is how much of your story do you infuse? How much do you leave for the viewer? And there's no formula for that, right?
Oh,
and
not at all.
It's never going to apply to everybody.
It's never going, I mean, just like my work, it doesn't apply. People scroll past my stuff all the time. It's not that it's a bad image at all. I think there are a few things that aren't lining up for me that, again, just don't stop me in my tracks as I'm going through. So maybe it's a lack of contrast. Maybe it's the lack of like blacks in the image. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that the difference between like the colors in the background, the saturation, and what's going on in the foreground. I'm not really sure what it is. And I'd like to see this image with some minor changes made and see if it makes a difference for me, because those things make you realize how much retouching has an impact on your personal opinion of an image as well. Do you know what I mean? So
Sure.
I'd be really interested to see my opinion on it if like minor changes were made to it, because again, I'm not shit talking the image. It's a beautiful image. I by no means am saying that it's not. There's a few things. We can't have every single image that we put out into the world isn't going to be show stopping, and every image we put out isn't going to stop people in their tracks, and they're going to dive in for more and be curious about the story. That's not what I'm saying. There's little things that I think could be done to it that would pull your eye in more and make you want to stop and take a second look at it, because we have seconds to do that as an artist to pull a viewer in. So I and I don't know if it's like the faded, because I mean, I have very minimal, not very minimal blacks, but I'm always playing with my blacks. I don't often have like really, really dark blacks, and I do that whole painterly thing too. It's not that. I don't know if it's just that it's super, super muted. I just don't know what it is, but I'd like to see a little more contrast and a little work in the skin tones and stuff. And I'd be interested to see what would happen when I was scrolling by, if those changes were made, if that would draw me in for a story more.
I think that brings up a really interesting point too about the purposes of the image, because if this was my daughter, I would love this shot.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, there's a difference sometimes between what we're putting out into the world as like a portfolio or fine art piece or something, where what we want is for other people to view it and then come find us or whatever, versus when we're creating images that are meant specifically for certain demographics or for a certain person. Because I can't imagine any parent getting this of their kid and not being like, oh, my baby's so beautiful. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that that's a good point as well, just to think about for the sake of the photographers, what
She's
the purpose of
adorable.
the image is and who you know, like who you're giving it to, because there are things that I would give to a family that they would love that are not stuff that I would necessarily put in my portfolio as like perfect exemplars of the kind of work I want to create, if that makes sense.
If that was my daughter, I would have that picture up on my wall.
100%. 100%.
So cute.
Yeah,
but
100%.
But at the end of the day, you're still holding yourself to the same standards as an artist, and I think that, and I'm not saying that this is the case with this image at all, but in general, like for me, my client work isn't different than my personal work in terms of the effort and the storytelling, and like I want all of my work to be kind of top notch regardless of who.
Oh sure. I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, we shouldn't be aiming at creating the best quality work, but just saying that sometimes, you know, like with an image like this, as we're giving a pretty in-depth critique, that the purpose of where the image is going, you know, also kind of informs the additional work that goes into it, or you know what I mean? So it's just something to like to keep in mind for, you know, the photographers, not only the ones that are, you know, sending us their stuff, but you know, as you're creating.
Even if her doll was like a little Victorian doll or something, I think it would, you know.
Well, I think a lot of the issue
I'm literally
is that
just picking now.
all of the action is happening right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the rest of the dress is just like irrelevant because it's an afterthought, but all of everything is happening right here. Yeah. So I think maybe even
there's a lot of pink.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pink.
But it's like that's what they were going for, so it makes sense.
I just realized something as well that might have played a little bit into what Ella's issues were with the black is look at the doll's feet and her eyes and how those are the darkest parts of the image. Yep. And yet there's no more saturated or darker blacks on the girl, which and her skin tone is in that place already. So then maybe that kind of plays into why the overlay kind of feel bothered her, because it doesn't seem to be on the doll because the doll has the darkest parts in the image, and maybe that might have been kind of what was throwing her.
Yeah, and again, like I feel bad because I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying that I don't like this image, because I do, but I just think we're here to help create the best photography and artwork that we possibly can by giving our opinions, and again they're just our opinions.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So I, you know, and by giving the feedback that I don't want whoever created this piece to think that it's, because I mean we've been sitting on this piece for a long time, and I don't want anyone to think that it's bad, because it's not.
Well, I think what we did with our you know, critiquing the masters just shows that if you put the preface of like critique this, there's always gonna be something to find, there's always gonna be something to talk about.
Yeah, even
it's not like we see this on our Instagram feed, we don't go in there and be like, wow, you know, just because it's a beautiful image, she's a cute girl, like it's pink, like, well, you know, what's to hate? But then when you put in the preface of critiquing, we're gonna find things to change, you know.
Yeah, I think that will be a really good thing for us to see, and for our viewers to see too, when we critique our own images. Like, we are not above being pulled apart either.
Please, because in this we see other people's opinions, because we literally cannot think outside of our own brains, because that's us, and then there's other people, you know.
Outside perspective is always gonna help you improve. And then you guys get to decide whether to take, I mean, you could hear a critique of mine and then look at my work and be like, she doesn't make the kind of stuff I like, so I will take her critique with a grain of salt. Like, not that it's not valid, but it maybe doesn't necessarily apply to you and what you're trying to do. And that's why there's 5 of us that come from all different, you know, walks of photography with backgrounds and different things, so that, you know, you guys can kind of hopefully at least get a broader picture, and then pick which things apply and which things don't. And if it doesn't, then, you know,
it's your work. So
right.
I mean,
you're happy with it. That's end of the day. That's all that matters.
100%.
So, because I do that all the time. People give me critique all the time. I'm like, I like it. Too bad. So
right. I mean, really, at the end of the day,
also go on our Photographers Roundtable Facebook group and give me critique on my pictures.
Yes, please do. Everybody, post your pictures, critique things. We'd love it.
It's literally the only way we're going to learn, right?
Critique each other is going to help you become a better photographer too.
Yeah.
Cool. So why don't we jump into the next one?
All right.
We've been on this guy for a while. And also, who's the photographer? And it's beautiful.
So this is Luis Flores.
Beautiful work, Louise. It is very pretty, and your lighting is so lovely. And this little girl is so beautiful.
She did send in another image that I actually like love like 1,000 times more, but again, I picked this one because I feel like it had a little bit things to discuss.
Yeah, I've been doing the same too if they send
Yeah.
in multiples.
Yeah.
Well done. I like it.
Yes, very, very pretty.
All right.
I'm gonna say the first thing that immediately jumps to my brain.
Do it.
Yeah.
There is a perspective disconnect here. She looks like she's been shot from a lower angle, and the background looks like it's shot from a higher angle. And when you're doing composite stuff, it is so important to make sure that your background image and your foreground image are being shot from essentially the same plane, the same camera tilt angle, the same, more or less the same focal length, because when those are off, it's immediately obvious that it's a composite image.
Yeah.
That being said, I like the color. I like that there's a story behind this. I want to know what that story is. She's kind of has this guiding light, and yet she herself is.
They did say what the name of the image is. Do we want to say that or keep it away?
Yeah, tell me.
Courage.
Courage. Okay. Well, that puts things into context. But I think even without that, like that's kind of what I was getting into, is that she's got this kind of guiding light moving forward.
Blindfolded.
And she's blindfolded. So either she's, kind of trusting herself to move forward, or she's leading other people, even if she doesn't necessarily have confidence in herself. That's a story that I definitely resonate with. So like for me, I mean, like you talk about a story and people kind of, injecting their own story into an image. I think this is a really good example of how you can kind of set the stage and let someone else fill in their own blanks, right? And relate to it in whichever way makes the most sense for them. And then technically, like I like the swoop of the dress and the kind of mirroring blindfold element. I don't necessarily understand the styling. I mean, from the color red being a color that's often associated with courage makes sense. But this kind of like crop tube top skirt situation, I don't quite understand. And that's just maybe just a styling difference, disconnect between me and the photographer. But it's got a lot of like really interesting, good pieces. I think there are just some technical things that are necessary to make this more successful.
Fair.
Are you done?
Until I have to argue with someone else. Are you done?
Are you done? Jeez.
You have my permission to proceed.
I agree that from a perspective point of view, that's the first thing that I noticed. And I agree with you. The colors are awesome. The dress is really pretty, and I would like to shoot in this skirt thing because that is cool. I think that like there's some masking issue happening at the bottom of the skirt. There's literally, I don't know if we can really see it on here, but I can see it in the image that was sent. There's just like a straight line going across the bottom. So I think from a masking perspective, it could use a little bit of work. And then it's just little things, right? Like the way that the dress fits by her abdomen, you could tuck that in. The lump from the dress, I don't know if it's like fabric that's just been pulled across her chest, but she's got I'm pointing like you guys can see. She's got like a bulge on her back. I would just get rid of that, right? Because like there's no need for it. I don't know. I just think from a perspective point of view, and maybe a bit of practice with masking, she's got a bit of a halo going around her, which I'm assuming is because it's a composite. So I think there's just a little work to be done in terms of learning how to composite. And there's lots of really great YouTube tutorials and tutorials that you can buy that will help you with that. And even, well, I was going to say, even to have her back to the left a little as opposed to like more to the right, where she's walking into this nothingness where there's this courage, because what's happening on the left, it's just blank space. So maybe if she was cropped a little bit tighter, or we saw maybe more of the landscape where there was a story to be told there. But yeah, I personally would probably move her over to the left a little bit more. But I mean, obviously your story is resonating, because initially that's what we thought it was too. So I just think that it's little technical things that need to be addressed.
Go.
I completely agree with all of that. I really love the story behind it, courage. She's walking onward. I sort of wish it was a little bit more horizontal, so you would show a little bit more of what's behind her marching, forward. Everything that Kelly said, the masking needs a little bit of work. The fact that you can see this straight line, the perspective, I totally agree with. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't know anything about this, because I attempted one time. I would have loved to seen a little bit more, see how it's, I'm guessing, snowing or raining. The fact that everything is blurry. Is it stars?
I thought it was stars.
Oh, I thought it was like snowing or raining.
Well,
so maybe just even in the fact that that's really kind of unclear about what's going on, just because like with stars, it doesn't really look like stars because there's not enough blank patches. Coming from somebody that's watched a lot of star documentary and quantum physics and whatever. So it looks more of like a
Olga the astrologist.
Yeah, I'm your local lawyer pilot.
Friendly local Olga astrologist.
Yes, don't worry about it. And I'm seeing a little bit of a clone issue here, because you can see where it's been masked or like cloned and flipped. You know what I mean? So that's not found in nature type of thing. So I guess just the confusion about what exactly is going on with all the texture. I immediately saw, and I'm not sure I'm not really a big fan of the colors, like between the green. I mean, I see that they are like, what is that called?
Complementary.
That's it. No, the red, green, blue, yellow. Primary colors. That's the ones. I can see that that's going on, but I feel like there's just not enough of like a good overlaying type color grade to kind of put those all together between the red, the blue, the yellow, the green, and then the gray all up top. It just doesn't flow.
I see what you mean.
To my eyeball. It's kind of hard to describe what exactly, what you feel when you see an image. And I just think that there's a lot of like masking issues, cloning issues. I really love the story. I love the flowiness of the dress. I wish it was longer to kind of create more of a kind of like, to see the traveling in the image. And then I'm gonna play Ella's role and be like, I really wish that these were edited out or steamed out.
Ella has work stuff, guys, so she's
does.
with us.
No,
And
she's
I'm still listening. I'm still listening. I just had to deal with a work crisis really quick.
Oh, for sure. I was like, I'm just playing Ella, and I really wish this was steamed out of the clothes. I don't.
Yeah, as soon as I heard steam, I was like, I gotta come check this out.
Right. It's like, I don't know. I own clothes, so I know about them, but I don't work with those.
Clothes?
Yeah.
What are those?
Clothes? I don't know.
Yeah, steamed
like,
or cloned, healed, whatever.
I like the theory, like the thought of the image. I like the story behind it, but I wish that there was just like a little bit more things that could really like clean it up to create like this awesome, just like, showstopper.
Yeah, I missed a little bit in the first because I had to potty, but so hopefully I don't repeat too much of what other people have said, but
There you go.
first impressions, I really like the story that you're trying to tell. I really like the idea. I think a lot of the elements that you're trying to bring together are right on for what seems like the story. I like the colors that you chose, although I think what Olga mentioned is true when you're having these, this is night, or I mean, we're just going to say it's in real Earth and not in a fantasy land, but it's nighttime. So there's going to be desaturation. There's going to be kind of blue casts and things, two things, depending on if like the moon is out or what, but you're not going to have these bright color contrasts in the same way that you would. So if there should be kind of an overlaying color that changes the way that the colors behave together, like they should be, you know, there should be probably desaturation and more blue and the reds, etc., just so that everything feels like it's actually in the same place, because right now the elements feel disparate. So there's the technical issues, right, which everybody's kind of gone over, with some of the masking, and then the perspective issue with the grass versus how the subject was shot. One of the things I want to bring up as well, I think that it's really important when you are compositing with an additional light source as the source of light in your image, that the rest of the light behaves the way that that source of light does. So right now you have your subject lit by this lantern, except that the light that's on her is not behaving like lantern light at all. So when you're setting up a shot like this, you want to take into account the way that that kind of light behaves. So she is almost like the light has wrapped around and is coming almost from a broad source now, which it would not be. It would be kind of falling off mid-arm, and it would be kind of falling off around her head and the bottom of her dress. You'd have some hard shadows going on from that light, and it would change the color where it's actually hitting her. So when you're planning a shot like this, shoot with at least, like, this would be a great opportunity to shoot with a gelled speed light where that light would be, so that you can at least get an idea of where the light is actually going to be hitting her if she's actually holding the lantern. And that will add a lot of believability to you know, just everything in general. But also I would consider right now her posing is a little bit stiff, and I realize you probably would be a little stiff if you're walking blinded through somewhere, but having a clenched fist and then a straight arm hang, not only is the straight arm incredibly uncomfortable, but with any weight at the end of your arm, that's not going to last for very long, and it's not really very physically pleasing to look at when the rest of the image is clearly designed to be pleasant to look at. Like, the lines are very pretty, the blowing hair, the flowing dress. So I would consider altering that pose just a little bit if you do something like this in the future, to kind of make that, you know, you're probably going to see a little bit more of a delicate wrist and a bend in the arm. And also that allows you to play with placement for where you want the light to fall on her body. So if she raises this up a little bit, the light is going to be, you know, falling on her face and then falling off as it goes down her body, which is going to be placing that point of interest, you know, up a little bit higher on the person, rather than right now the skirt is taking over the whole image because it's the brightest, it's the area of the most color contrast. So it's kind of taking over the image. So aside from the technicals, which that's just going to come with practice, and the other ladies have mentioned, so definitely keep practicing those things, like making sure, you know, that your masking is on, and that you're choosing images to composite in where the perspective matches, and that you're making sure that the overall color grade of the image affects all the colors so that they feel like they're all in the same place. Really think about where that light source is coming from and how that's going to fall on the subject. And the glows that you can add after that, that's all, you know, a cherry on the cake, but making sure that the light source actually looks like it's there and is affecting the image is important. And then the last thing I would say, which relates a little bit to what Kelly and Olga both brought up, is there's a couple interesting things when you're looking at composition in an image, where you have a single subject that's weighted heavily on one side of the frame. And most of the time, people will tell you to have your person facing into the image. I don't always agree with that, because I think there are times it's really important for the person to look like they've come through an image. But in that case, this particular square crop is not really in your favor. I think what Olga and Kelly mentioned is important. If you want this to look like she is walking into the darkness, like she is bravely walking into the darkness, then she needs to be moved back to the other side of the image with that darkness in front of her. But if you want it to look like she has safely made it through, like she has bravely come through, and to take advantage of that flowing skirt, I think it's great to have her on the other side of the image, but then you do want to crop it down so that she has this empty dark space behind her. And those things both, right, those things both tell a story. You just have to make sure that the rest of the image, like the crop and the other things, are agreeing with that. So I think that's fine, but I would just, we don't really need the stars as much, but we do need the darkness either in front of or behind her to kind of contribute to the story that you want to tell. So
I agree.
A lot of things that are right. The concept is really cool. I love blindfolded going through the darkness with a lantern. I think that's wonderful. I won't add anything to the technical stuff because that's already been covered, but I think you're already pointed in a really fantastic direction, and just the technical stuff, like vision is going to be the most important part, and you obviously have that, which is outstanding. You have stories, you're putting together elements that are helping you tell the story the right way. You just need to finesse those technicals a little bit, and most of us at some point where our vision exceeds our skill set, and you are like now starting to hit that point where you're going to tip and your skill set is going to start matching with your vision, and absolute magic is going to happen at that point because you obviously have stories that you want to tell. So great. Like, I think this is a great effort, and there's so much right with it, and taking these little technical finessing that everybody has mentioned so far is going to take stuff like this. If you have a chance to come back and work on this, I would, because I think you can still make something really fantastic with just the little things that everybody has mentioned so far. But
Nicole's monologue.
Right.
Sorry.
She puts a bow on too.
I just had a lot of because I make stuff like this.
Compositing is hard.
It is.
It really is.
It is. And a lot of the things that this photographer has done or attempted to do are things that I do or attempt to do in my own images. Like I try to make them look like they're lit with sources that are in the image, which means I've had to fail and try again at that over the years with a candle or a lantern or a magic staff or whatever. Like, that's stuff that I really try to do. So
I think with
I've learned from those mistakes.
The light is the like number one thing. If you get the light right, then a lot of other things can kind of be like pulled under the carpet. If you nail the light and everything looks like correct, a lot of like these small details that we've mentioned would kind of fade away into the darkness.
See what you did there?
Yeah. Hun queen.
Did Ella go yet?
No, because
she just tuned in because she heard her name and her ears were burning.
No, I was listening the whole time. I was just trying to put out a fire at the same time for other stuff. So yeah, work life fun times. Yes. No, I don't really have much to add. Yeah, Olga nailed the steaming. Make sure y'all steam your clothes.
Or at least, edit them out.
Yeah, or at least like, heel brush them out or something. Make sure the light goes the same way. So like, I'm just looking at the shadows in the dress. Shadows don't make any sense. They're like facing the wrong way completely. But again, we've already talked about that. So I don't have much to add. Sorry, I missed a chunk of this, but work.
That's okay.
It happens, man. That's life.
Yeah.
That being said, I love you guys. I have to go pick up my tacos.
Okay.
Tacos.
I'm gonna go.
Cheers.
Because it's Taco Tuesday.
Yes.
And Cinco de Mayo.
So I'm gonna go because this has been dragging on for a little while. So love you guys.
Yeah, I think it's about time I get off too. Like, I do have to go back to work now. I put out the fire, but I need to get back to some other stuff. So I also need to go. So if you guys want to stay in chat, I can make someone else the person, but I'm gonna have to go as well.
Yeah, you can make
session.
I could be a person. I can shut it down.
All right, are we good? I can tell who this is.
I'm going, Kelly.
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so this is Mary Bell.
Oh, nice job! You know what? Good job, Mary. I've seen so much of Mary's work, and she has so much beautiful stuff.
Yep.
Agreed.
She sent in a couple of images, but I feel like this one kind of had, again, the most to kind of talk about and unpack.
Mhm.
So we're here about learning and educating.
Yes, and a cool thing too is this is really suitable. I mean, so much of Mary's stuff has so much concept in it, and so yeah, I'm glad that she sent us a thing because she has so much beautiful work.
Yeah, totally.
So does anybody have anything else to add on this image?
I think we nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. Crushed it.
Yeah.
Solid.
Beautiful job. Also, I have more thumbs. I feel like we had a lot of really great images this time that had so many great things going for them, and just small stuff that would take them over the edge into like outstanding images.
True that. True that.
Word.
So tips for the future.
Self-critique.
A what?
I can't wait to self-critique or critique.
Oh, I know. I'm really looking forward to that. I really, really want.
Ella and I are like, oh,
No, I'm so in, and I really want, like, I think it would be so fun to bring our significant others with, because
yeah. So let us know if you want
give
to see
them
our
a few
significant
drinks
others.
as well. You know what I mean?
Critique our
Mine
images.
has opinions about stuff.
Oh,
He knows
Nicole,
nothing.
you know that mine has opinions.
Oh yeah. But that's
Maybe too
kind
many.
of the fun of it, though, right?
Too
I
many.
know our family has opinions. We have a family with strong opinions.
I don't think I have
can
enough
wait for
money
that
to
stuff.
bribe my husband to do this, but we'll see what
Just
happens.
slowly start feeding him alcohol, and then eventually you'll be like, you know what's a good
And by
idea?
the time he's like really loosey-goosey, you can be like, so come over here.
Yeah.
Just spring it on him last minute. Come here.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording
not
of this so
listening,
that
is he?
it'll start processing for the YouTube. So
All
say
right,
goodbye
lady.
for this.
Bye.
For the
Thank you so
record.
much for everybody.
Bye.